Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it anywhere and everywhere. You can even earn money all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works.
Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today.
Then you can go ahead and distribute your podcast to Spotify and anywhere else podcasts are heard.
Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. And when you want to take the conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A polls are the best way to get them talking.
With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions.
And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. We've been using Spotify for Podcasters, and we highly recommend you give it a try. Download Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters and get started. Guys, we are back with another episode of That's So Fringy podcast.
That's right.
We are here with a super special guest, and we are so thankful that she was willing to come on and talk with us on Good Friday.
That's right, Good Friday, which is today. We're recording this today. And so that means that this episode's coming out on Easter
Sunday.
Yep.
And it's so perfect timing, and it's come together so perfectly that we know that it's not done by us. We had no power in this. This is all a God thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. And when you hear our guest's message, her name is Kristin. She was in a docu-series called Dark Holler. You'll hear us mention that during this episode. But it's very interesting story about a woman that was possessed. Mm-hmm. That's right. You heard me. Possessed and then delivered. So what better day than to drop a deliverance message, the saving grace of Jesus Christ on Easter Sunday. So that's what you're going to get. Yep. But just a couple of housekeeping things. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the things that we always say. You're probably sick of me saying it, but too bad. Said it anyway. So,
and he's going to keep saying it.
He
does that.
It's like a tick that I just have to. But anyway, there's lots of things that I want to talk about, but I'll cut it short with just this. I think that the interactions that I'm having with the people have been so fun.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed interacting with the audience and interacting with everybody that's listening, and also the other podcasters and the guests that we've had. This has just been a fun journey for me, and I hope you guys are having a good time out there. So with that, we're going to kick it over to the episode. We hope that you enjoy it, and more importantly, we hope that you see Jesus all throughout this episode, because that's our goal. We want to show Jesus to the people globally, and we're hoping that you're seeing that here. So with that, we're going to jump into the episode. Here we go. Whoop, 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 whoop.
All right, you guys, welcome back to That's So Fringy podcast. I'm Rick.
I'm Kristin.
And I'm Bethany.
And we are here with Kristin, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her testimony, her story. Kristin, we first saw you on the Dark Holler documentary. And I know I don't say it right because I'm from the West Coast, but I know I'm saying that word wrong. So all you people out there, don't get after me on this. It's Dark Holler for me.
It'll sound better when she says it.
Yeah.
It's a holler.
That's right.
There you go.
Well, we're so pleased that, Kristin, that you were able to take the time and come on. And we're just interested in getting to know you a little bit more, introducing you to our audience, and then also just having a conversation with you, seeing how things are going now for you after the documentary, just kind of checking in with you. I'm sure you have a lot of fans out there, which might seem weird, but I know you do. And so I'm sure everybody's looking at what's going on with Kristin now. So let's go ahead and start with your testimony and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. It's really a blessing, honestly. So I want to start with my family background, childhood a little bit. My family originated from Kentucky, and I'm actually from a lineage of witches. So we're Native American, actually, so there's a lot of paganism in there. There's actually we're Wyandot Indian. My ancestor is a Wyandot Indian princess. Her name was Morning Glory, and her daughter's daughter is where I get my name from. So it's pretty cool. But it's a long line of witches in my family, and we actually didn't even put all the pieces together until going and shooting Dark Holler. And everything just kind of came together. So it's kind of wild, but, I started getting into witchcraft heavily when I was about 15, 16, maybe. I started with Wicca, and it grew and grew and drove me deeper into, hoodoo is what I preferred to practice. And there's where I come from Boone County, West Virginia. So it's very heavy there.
Yeah.
The drugs, the witchcraft, I mean, it's everywhere. And so I just kind of dove headfirst into it. I didn't grow up in church. I wanted to be as far away from the church as I could have been, and I was. And then whenever I was in my 20s, is really when it took like a really dark turn. I began doing, I had done partied, had partied off and on, like through my teenage years, but never really got heavy into drugs until I got heavier into witchcraft. So I would take whatever substance, really, it could have been anything, to get heavy, to get into the space of consciousness. I want to say to bring me to a higher level.
Sure. Or open your mind.
Yes, to open myself up to these spirits that were actually demonic, that I had no idea that I was, bringing demonic entities into my life. I was opening doors. I had no idea. When I was practicing, I remember feeling like, this is who I was. I'm bringing myself to the best version of me that I could. I would practice spells and make different spell candles and just do things like that. And it was always, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I have to do this. I have to do this to get deeper into it. And it really opened doors to the demonic. It actually led me to possession. I don't want to really say her name because I don't want to give it away from Dark Holler. But she completely tried to ruin me. she ruled me. She rocked my world.
It's funny, when I was watching the Dark Holler documentary, at the same time, we had watched it a while ago, and then we just rewatched it again because we knew we were having you on, so we wanted to kind of refresh. But we also had watched the Chosen TV series. Have you seen that?
I'm watching that now.
So that first episode was crazy for me because
that was crazy for me.
I bet, and that's what kind of drew me to bring this up is the idea of how Mary Magdalene in that first episode is a lot of what you were going through, where and it was kind of being portrayed in a very cinematic way, but it was almost like it was a possession, and that there was this darkness to
torment.
Her. And then he actually calls her a name, and I won't ruin it for everybody, but if you guys want to watch The Chosen, it's very interesting. You can get it on Angel Network. You can see it all over the place. Just look it up. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that really stuck with me, that first episode. And when I was watching Dark Holler again, it reminded me of that.
Yeah, my sister called me because she had watched it, and she was like, Did you catch that? And I was like, oh, I caught that. That was very.
I felt that.
That was a very. I don't want to say triggering like a bad thing. It was more of like triggering like a good thing. Like that's really what God brought me out of.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And I'm gonna get emotional.
Well, I'm a grown ass man, and I was crying.
Really?
Yeah.
As soon as Jesus walks up to her and that interaction, it's so powerful, and I'm sure that was triggering for you.
Yeah, it really was. But yeah, and it's just like that too. Like I would have lucid moments and be completely myself, and then and I wouldn't realize it really. It was everybody else that would see it. Like my mom, she talks about how there would be certain people that would come around me and I would just get sick. I would, I remember my aunt told me that she would pray for me one time, and I got so sick. I had to leave my mom's. My sister would try to talk the gospel with me, because they seen everything I was going through. Well, at that time, nobody had any idea what was really happening.
Right.
They had no idea that I was going through possession because I had opened these doors through witchcraft. Nobody knew. So, I tried to fight my sister just because she was talking about the Bible with me. Like it was really dark. It got really bad. But I had came out of that when I was saved. My baptism turned to be an exorcism, and it completely made a shift, like within the church of New Haven, where we're from. New Haven, it's now on Main Street in Boone County, West Virginia, right there in, I think it's Madison or Danville. The towns are so close. But it's right there on Main Street for anybody that's listening. If they're from there, it's a great church. Completely changed the way that everybody lived. I mean, my friend Darian, she still to this day says it's one of the best days of her life because it had given her an entire new perspective of the scriptures.
Yeah.
Like she didn't even know that stuff was real. It's not something that's talked about.
Right. Exactly.
It's either, that was back in biblical times, or we just don't talk about that. Because if you talk about it, you're going to bring it on to yourself. Well, it's actually the opposite. Christians experience spiritual warfare the same as non-believers can experience, spiritual warfare and things. But it's something that we as Christians should talk about because it gives us those categories to combat them. Right. If you don't know how to combat these things, then you're just completely oblivious. And it's all through the Bible. Like, I don't understand how people are not seeing it.
Right. I mean, that's what we always say is knowledge is your power. You have to know your enemy in order to fight them. I mean, it's
absolutely.
But for some reason, the church just shies away from it so much. We grew up in the church, and it's like some of this stuff I didn't find out till like in the last 5 years that all this stuff is in the Bible. And I'm like, wow, this is a way cooler book than I thought.
And thing is, though, is that we're going to start seeing a lot more of it.
Yep.
Like, the paganism is rampant right now.
Yeah. Yep.
More so than when I started being when I got into witchcraft till now. Like, it's the cool thing to do now.
Mm-hmm. And it's being marketed as, white magic and all the Wiccan stuff. It's like, it's so harmless. It's white magic. Well, there is no difference between white magic and it's all bad. It's all dark, and we're supposed to stay away from all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually want to read something really quick to you guys. It's in Deuteronomy 18, verse 10. It says, "Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritualist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord, an abomination to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. You must be blameless before the Lord your God." That's scripture.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be talking about, is that God, we believe in the Genesis 6 narrative, where there are, God chose Israel as his people, and all of the other sons of God were called. We are called to be, as Christians and as Israel back then, we're called to be set apart from all of that other stuff that was going on. And we see over and over again in the Bible, people falling back into these cultures that are surrounding them and getting into their ideologies, getting into their witchcraft, getting all of that stuff. And so when you see the word holy, you're supposed that means set apart. That's God telling us, set us ourselves apart from what it is that they're doing all around us, and in this world, but not of this world, right?
Yeah, that's it. You took the words out of my mouth. Yep, we are in this world. We're not of this world, and it's very, very true. And it's so scary though, because once you're open and you know these things and you can see them, you see even in the church that they're using New Age and witchcraft and things, the anagram practices, New Age, it's really scary. It really is. But we are what is to be feared. Yep. The demonic fears us. And we don't understand as Christians that we do have authority through God. Like, God gives us the authority to cast out demons, to combat these things. That's what we're supposed to do. And so, it really did change everything. It changed my life. God changed my life, my husband's life, my kids' life. Like, everybody that has been affiliated with us, it's changed their life.
It was really cool to watch how everything came together, Yeah. I know that Ward did a great job putting the documentary together, but just the story itself of how, your sister and she brought Josh, and how everything just kind of came together. And that God's working when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it was absolutely God's timing for it all. I mean, there's nothing that we didn't go through that was not useful for his glory. Like, it was all the way that he wanted it to be. Like, we hit rock bottom, I went through what I had to go through for His glory. We moved out here. We live in North Carolina now. For His glory, we're seeing that now. We did Dark Holler. It was super crazy too because we didn't call Ward. We didn't initiate any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Ward actually reached out to Josh and said, "Hey, I'm trying to do a different kind of documentary. Have you had any like strange spiritual stuff going on?"
Mm-hmm.
Josh was
And he's like, "Oh boy."
"Yes, yeah, very recently I have." And we didn't even think that of it. When Ward came down and interviewed us the first time, I was thinking, this guy's definitely going to think I'm crazy. He's never going to call us again. And he called us and was like, "I want to do a whole series on this because like God is doing something. Like God has done something and this isn't over yet."
Yeah.
And same thing with Cultish. We ended up, I think, very recently after we shot the first episode of Dark Holler, we did a Cultish podcast, and there was actually it was a 3-part series, and I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it's called The Exorcism of Kristin Bellamy, and it is phenomenal. Like Josh even blew me away. Like there was stuff that we were finding out as we were doing, like shooting Dark Holler, filming Cultish. Like there's still things that we're finding out.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, because that's a very oppressive area. I mean, from what I've seen in the documentary, that there's, you've got those birds circling around the town, and you've got all of this.
You want to hear something about birds? Yeah. Well, we live out in North Carolina now. We moved. We're states away, okay, and there's flocks of owls that sit out back here. In this tree, literally in this tree that I'm pointing at. And I had no idea that they were, they scream at us. They've attacked our cars. I had an owl one night try to get in my bathroom window. Scared me to death. Okay.
Oh my goodness. So Bethany is terrified of birds. She has an actual like horrible fear of birds.
I used to not be, but now I am. It's out. But yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah, when you dig into the symbolism of all of the owls and all of the symbolism that goes with the occult, it's really not that shocking, but that's the part of knowing your enemy. You have to know the symbolism. You have to know how the demonic works. You have to know all that stuff. And it doesn't mean that you have to, become a Wiccan or do all that, but it is a good idea to at least know the occult and what they believe and how they practice and those type of things, so that you can see, as you were saying earlier, you can see those symbols, you can see those things. And, a flock full of owls in somebody's backyard is not normal, but when you put it in your context, it makes perfect sense why they're hanging around and why they're being aggressive.
Yeah. They're mad.
They're mad.
And I never even knew that owls ran in flocks. Like I didn't know that.
I've maybe seen a couple owls in my entire life.
Yeah, I know.
We live
really weird
in the country. I mean, there's like trees and forest everywhere. That's not normal.
And I live in the city.
Yeah,
that's weird. Yeah. But yeah, we've dealt with that. And, there's 2 things that can happen too. Like you're either going to be a Christian and you're going to dive in and you're going to know your enemy, like you were talking about, or you're going to be, deceived because it's in the church, false teachings, obviously, but it can be in the church. It's all over the internet. It's, like I said, it was the cool thing to do. It's normalized so heavy now.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it this bad.
Yeah. I think everybody, we've talked about this before, but everybody can just feel this like spiritual warfare going on. Like
Oh,
like ramping up big time. It's spooky kind of, but
yeah, it really is. And that's exactly what it is. Everybody wants to talk politics and stuff. Well, it's spiritual.
yes.
That's
Oh,
exactly
yes.
what it is. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so baptism turned into an exorcism. It completely changed everything.
I have a
Then,
question. Do you
okay,
have
go ahead.
much like memory of the actual baptism, like of the event? Do you mind kind of touching on that a little bit for people that maybe haven't
Sure.
watched it yet?
So, I don't remember going there.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll start from being at my mom's house. I'll start with the night before because it really puts it into perspective of what was really going on. So, the night before my baptism, I was at my mom's house and she had a fireplace in her living room.
Hmm.
She woke up to me screaming with numerous voices coming out of me at 3 o'clock in the morning that night. Okay. She said that what she seen terrified her. It really scarred her. Like, she said that's the scariest thing and the most traumatizing thing that she's been through in her adult life, anyways. And so that happened. She said that I was on my knee, like I was begging for God to save me. She said her exact words is there was a spiritual battle going on within her.
Wow.
And the next day, I don't really remember a lot. I do remember like everybody showed up at my mom's house. My aunt, both my aunts were there. My cousin Tasha came down there. My sister came down there. Me and my sister were actually like not on very good terms because, like I said, I tried to fight her. It really got bad. Like, and I'm not that person. Like,
Yeah.
I can talk with somebody. I can debate with somebody. But I was possessed. Like, I mean, I was going through something that nobody was understanding, not even myself. So, but anyways, like my sister ends up coming down there and, I just remember looking at her and saying, call Josh, call Josh, call Josh. And she's like scared. I remember the look on her face. Like she was scared. She like froze. She was like, what?
Yeah.
And, so she calls Josh and Josh is like, okay, well, what do you like? You know, what do you want me to do? And, I was like, I'm going to be baptized. I have to be baptized right now. Like, I have to. And everybody's like scared. They're like mind blown, but they're like scared at this point. My mom was like really scared. She was like, you don't understand. Like, this is a good thing, but this is not okay because we don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, she knew because she had experienced things with my Uncle Craig that I was very close to, who was heavily involved in witchcraft when he was younger. So she's seen demonic things happen like that before. So she knew what was going on. Well, then I don't remember going and being on our way to the park because that's where I was baptized was Madison Park. And I remember Josh and Chris was talking to me, and I remember that they were just like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but they literally was glowing. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they were just like beaming. And they were talking to me, and, you know, they were talking to me like, about the gospel and things like that. And I don't remember anything that I said. I just remember being like mesmerized, looking at them like, oh my gosh, like you are glowing right now. Like, this is crazy. So, I remember walking into the water and it felt like something I remember falling and it felt like something pulled me or pushed me and I fell. I broke my foot. I broke the metatarsals in my foot and my pinky toe on my left foot. And Josh like grabbed me and he was like, I remember him saying, are you okay? You want to still go? And I said, yeah, let's keep going. And then I remember being like, I was standing there and he was talking and I couldn't really make out what he was saying, but it felt like I was being pulled. And so I just kind of took it in like, I'm not coming back up. What are you going to do about it? Like at that point, there's nothing I can do. So I remember feeling like pulled, like, okay, I'm not coming back up. And then I don't remember anything after that. So it was very, very touch and go. Like I remember little things. I don't remember a lot. I do remember breaking my foot because after my baptism, I definitely felt that. Like I was down for a while after that.
Yeah.
And I remember Josh and Chris and feeling like I was being pulled, and that's about it.
Wow.
So,
and Josh had prayed before you went into the water. He had chosen to use a exorcism prayer.
Yeah, Luther's exorcism prayer.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty awesome. Because some people just don't have the boldness to do that or the belief.
It was the first time he ever did it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the crazy part is that he was being led obviously by God to say what he said. Like all these roadblocks that came up that could have stopped this whole process. Yeah. But God was like, "No, we're doing this. Like this is happening." And you're lucky that you had Josh there that was listening to the Holy Spirit and you were able to power through a broken foot. I mean, all this stuff that's just such a powerful story.
It was really, really crazy. Like looking back at how everything happened, I'm like, wow, I definitely appreciate everything that I went through. Mm-hmm. Like all of it, the drugs, the witchcraft, like every bit of it, because that's something that I had to go through.
Yeah.
God was putting me through that to strengthen me for what's happening now.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, not only strengthening you, but strengthening almost your whole community. I mean, everybody that's heard your story in that community and all of the people in that church, like you were saying before, it's impacted multiple lives forever.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of weird to say that a possession was the catalyst for people coming out of their slumber of Christianity and really waking up to the truth of the gospel. And probably being a lot more bold. I'm sure it helped Josh in his boldness in preaching. Yeah. I know it's helped your friends and your family members. So, I mean, it's such a cool thing to think that God can, as the Bible says, God can turn all things to good if you just let him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was, it blows me away, especially today, because it's like, okay, it's Good Friday. Like today is when Jesus was put on the cross, and like he died for me to bring me out of that. Mm. Like I wasn't worthy of that. I'm not worthy of that, Yeah. And that really just blows me away too, because it's not something that I even asked for. It was like, I don't know how to really explain it. Like he blew the door down and was like, "No, you're mine." It's not something that it just happened that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know Bethany can probably touch on this more, because I know that she, over the years of coming out of kind of some of that dark stuff, has had a lot of guilt and a lot of, shame and that kind of. Do you struggle with any of that type of stuff now, or do you feel like you're just wiped clean?
Good question. I feel that, there's moments that I feel that way. And then it's literally like God's like, no, you're not going to feel that way, because look how far we've come. Like he brought me so far and is still working in me. Like I'll always be growing in grace, but there's times that I do feel that way. But then I'm like, then I just feel like so blessed.
Yeah.
And he puts me back into that mindset and gives me that reassurance, like, no, you're not going to feel that way. You went through that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm showing you this. Wake up, I'm showing you this. Like, and that's kind of how it is, you know, like, I still go through spiritual warfare. It's been very heavy, especially after everything that we went through, moving away from Boone County and the podcast that we've been on. There's always something that tries to interfere with getting our testimony out there. Because it's not just mine, you know, it's my husband's too. Like, he lived through all of this too.
Mm-hmm.
And my family lived through all of it. So it really is just amazing what God has done in all of our lives. It's affected everybody.
Yeah.
So so after your baptism and your broken foot of being down for a couple weeks, I'm sure, how then did you continue to live your life?
So I actually came out of the occult and ended up in another one. And I'll explain more about that. So I went to I'm not going to name them because I, to be honest with you, I don't know if I can get in trouble. Like, it's a big organization. I don't know. But I ended up in a Christian rehab. It was like some woman's garage, and it was awful. It was like how we were talking about the occult is also within false churches. This is how it was. And I had just been recently, like, this was within a week. Okay. I knew this was wrong. Like, everything that I was going through, it kind of reminded you of, like, they believed in if you don't get your, what did they call it? Spiritual language. Then there's something wrong. If you don't pass out for the Holy Spirit, like, then you don't have it. And they would put you on what they call discipline for that. And me being me, like, I'm not going to do that. Well, I left, and my mom and my sister took me there. So I leave, and my mom is like freaking out because she's trying to get a hold of me at this time, and they pretend like they don't even know me. They tried to get me to sign my rights over to them.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So their whole goal was to marry. Like, they had a guys group and a women's group, and they would pair them, marry them, and send them out to different states to create different churches and things like that. And it was just repetitive. The girl that I was actually, like, paired up with all the time, she actually was married and sent to Oregon to, play in a church. That's crazy. Yeah. This is actually the first time that I'm talking about them too, I think. But, anyways, I left there, and I got into church. I mean, I had detoxed myself before I even went to what was supposed to be rehab, but wasn't. So I did all that myself. It was all God, really, but, and I got into New Haven and started living for the Lord. And, what really helped me was we had what we call home groups at our good friend Chris and Holly's. Chris actually is the guy that I mentioned that helped baptize me. And I still to this day can't thank them enough for, like, the fellowship that they gave. Like, they never made me feel like out of place. Like, I don't have a normal, I don't want to say, like, I don't have a normal testimony, but I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I really came out of some dark stuff. and they never made me feel like I was unwanted. And that really helped me. So that's mine and my husband's goal, is to share the gospel and make people feel the same way. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that's involved in witchcraft or drugs or drinking, and they're so they're ashamed that they feel, oh, I can't tell them that because they're going to judge me. No, tell me everything, because there's nothing you're going to say that I haven't done.
Right.
Or seen,
Yeah.
that's our purpose. Like, that's what God's put us through, everything that we needed to go through to get us where we're at now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people in this day and age are just searching for something. Like everybody's kind of, there's just this unrest. And so, the trap of new age is that you're always searching and never finding. That's the whole thing. But they've branded it to where it's so close to Christianity, but it's just not quite there. If you really know what you're looking for, it's not there, but it's close enough that people are like, yeah, I love Jesus. God is cool, but it's not right.
Well, the whole point of, like, when you really get down into and dive deep into what witchcraft is and what it stands for, all it does is mock Jesus and Christianity. Like, that's why there's such a controversy about Easter and Halloween and all these different denominations. And witchcraft is mockery. It takes these things and manipulates it into it's going to manipulate it into you thinking that you're trying to raise your vibrations, be the best version of you, YOLO, all these different things. You only live once, no regrets, and all this and that. That's manipulation is what that is. And that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to live for the glorification of God. So, when you see things like that, that's manipulation.
Yeah.
And what it really does is it manipulates the person into thinking that, and really it's just trying to kick down doors for its gain. The kingdom of darkness, I guess you could say. But yeah, we don't bat for that team anymore.
No, but they're still trying to get you. You're the one that got away. So you're going to always be battling that stuff. I mean, we all are.
Oh, yeah.
Bethany's always going to be fighting her demons. I'm always going to be fighting mine. But
we're
probably
a threat.
Especially have to be steadfast. You have to be careful.
Yeah. Because we're a threat. I mean, we came out of it. We know how to combat it, and we're out telling our testimonies, and we're telling the gospel, and these people's eyes are being open, and God is just changing their hearts, and it's really something to live and see. But yeah, it's a threat, and anything like I said, the spiritual warfare, anytime that we would do like a podcast or anything like that, or like even the time like shooting through Dark Holler, there was like a spiritual heaviness of like demonic things happening. My sister and her husband have experienced so much. And, it's really awesome to see that. I mean, everybody around has that was affiliated with it. So much that they've experienced, and what's beautiful about it is that they've not stopped. They know that God is using these testimonies and the story for His glory.
Right.
So it just really is amazing. Like, you really can't stop God's will.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's why we wanted to put this podcast out, was to get these stories out to people, because, West Virginia is a long way from us, so everybody in our area hasn't heard your story. Maybe they haven't seen Dark Holler, but we want to bring what God's doing all over the world to the forefront of people's minds, because there is a spiritual battle going on out there, and it's very clearly changing people's lives each and every day when they choose Jesus, when they choose the kingdom of God over the kingdom of darkness. It's changing people's lives. And we want people to know that, because, when you sit in a pew or a chair at church and you're so kind of self-absorbed with what's going on right there, with the music, with the, with the pastor, with everything that's going on right there, it really brings Christianity to a very small box. When the reality is Jesus died on the cross and rose again, and he opened up his house to everyone, to literally everyone, and said, all you got to do is believe that I did what I did and come and follow me. Choose my kingdom, change the way that you're living, follow after me, repent. It's the first thing that he said when he started his ministry. Repent, change your ways, and fix it. And I think if we change our thought of Christianity to a more global mindset instead of just our own little church community, then things are going to start to change, and we're going to start shaking up this world the way that Jesus wants us to.
It's very true. And you know how you brought up The Chosen earlier. I was watching it, and I was thinking it in that sense, though, of, unbelievers. And I can say this because I was one. I was that person that was like, hypocrites. You're not going to sit in a church house and be pointing fingers at me when you're going and you're sinful too, and all this and that. Well, we should definitely think of it as, Jesus came to this earth, and that's who he ate with, was the sinners, the murderers, the thieves, the people, the black sheep, the people that were cast outs, the ones that's covered in tattoos and just, we don't fit into that little, what some people want to say, little church scene. It's not, Christianity is not like that at all. It's the complete opposite. It's the complete
That's
opposite.
what people need to hear. I mean, we've had weird little, spiritual battles starting this podcast, even just, we'll put out an episode, and then all of a sudden, you get all this stuff that happens. And it's because the darkness doesn't want the light to get out there. That's the whole thing. But it's crazy technology is a blessing and a curse in this day and age, I think. But the blessing is that we have people in, Norway and Ukraine and all these other places that are listening. And it's like, this is maybe your story is what they need to hear. Maybe Rick's story is what they need to hear. We all have a different story. And when we can share it and go, we still sin, we have, nose rings and tattoos, and we wear ripped jeans to church, and, all of this stuff that's like, that's okay. God doesn't care about that stuff as much as it's been led to believe that he cares about that kind of stuff. He cares about the condition of your heart.
Yeah, he literally addressed that too, to not worry about what you're going to eat, drink, or wear. There's the Bible literally is so much more than just a book of, I don't know. I guess a lot of people look at it as, well, I don't want to follow a bunch of rules. Well, it's just so much more than that. It's literally a guide of how we should and how we were created to live our lives. And that's why when you're involved in drugs or drinking or witchcraft or whatever it is, you always are filling that void. There's always going to be a void there. No matter what addiction it is. It could be addiction to the smallest thing, but it's filling a void that only God can fill.
Yep.
And that's
Absolutely.
exactly what it is. And I really came to know that.
Yeah, firsthand.
Yeah, I
I'd say
definitely
so.
lived that. Yeah.
So you guys are gonna have to watch this show. I'm not kidding. It was so powerful to me that I was just like, oh my gosh. And I think I saw a lot of parallels between you and Bethany. Obviously, she's my sister. So but it just really spoke to me, the whole story. But so can you tell people like where you're at now? Like what are you moved to North Carolina, what is your life looking like now? You got married. I saw that.
Yes. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you. So Chase and I got married, and we moved to North Carolina. We just got a house today, so that's extremely exciting. We just got into a new church. It has been such a blessing to us. I'm a biology teacher now. My daughter has just been so blessed with such a wonderful private school, and all of her friends and like their families are Christian, and it's just been a blessing for all of us. But I'm a biology teacher now, and I'm actually finishing up my degree at Liberty University. I'm going to be a neurosurgeon.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I have a long road ahead of me, but yeah.
Yeah, but
So
you've taken the first step. That's the hard part. Me and Bethany are nurses,
Yeah.
and we've both talked a million times about going further down
Really?
the road. The sky's the limit when you get in the medical field.
I'm telling you. Yeah, God really, really showed us that we can do all things with Him, and He gave us our purpose and put us where we're at. And He really has like completely changed our lives. I never thought that I would be in college or a teacher, or just, I never thought that we would be here.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, before that, like the road that we were on, we were dead. We were dead spiritually, but we were dying physically.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny because, and I don't say funny because it's not funny, but you guys were in, or you were down that path of witchcraft and all of that stuff to better yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you were trying to get better, and you were trying to improve your life. But the funny thing is as soon as you relinquished that and held on to God, He changed your whole life, and you are now where you're at.
Yeah. And He was like, oh, watch this.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you're looking for something? I got you.
That's exactly how it is. Yeah, I actually remember telling my best friend, this is when I was into witchcraft. I was a witch at this time. And I kept on telling her, I actually remember that this is when the possession really started to take effect, because I don't know how to describe it really. It was like sitting in the backseat of my own mind. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I kept on telling her over and over, I need some kind of spell. Like I need some kind of like spiritual awakening. I need to meditate more. I need to make I don't know, like I would just go through so many different things of what can I do to make me feel better?
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing I could do.
Well, and as you start opening those doors and going down that
Yeah.
path, you're unknowingly making yourself more susceptible to these spirits. That's exactly what they want you to do.
That's
The way
exactly
to start
what it
was
was.
just being interested and just, I wonder what this is. And then, it just, like I said, it's always searching and never finding.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm doing all these things. Why is nothing working? I'm taking the drugs and doing the meditations and the spells, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. This is supposed to be a journey, and I'm not finding anything, and it was ruining me.
Yeah.
But God picked me up out of all of that and said, I'm going to show you everything and more of, like, I'm going to completely flip your perspective of who I am.
Right.
So
And
good.
that's exactly what he did. So,
Did you have any, like, so when you were moving to North Carolina, did you have any, like, anxiety or doubt, because you were moving away from your whole support system, right?
oh yeah. My husband and I, we spent a year apart.
Oh, wow.
And I would, this was a very stressful time, and I laugh about it now, but it was me and his mom. We would be driving down here all the time, like just blindlessly drive around looking for anywhere to go for us to move to. And then we finally found a place. And then we moved in here. So my husband actually moved straight out of a halfway house into the apartment that we're into now. And then finding a church was like the most difficult thing out here that I've ever done, I think, because it's so hard to find a really good church. We did find one. We made some really good friends there, but it wasn't where we were intended to be. So now we're at the place we're at now. I don't want to say names because
No, you're fine.
That can be hard. But we're at the place we're at now, and we actually, this is like, I think this Sunday is like the third time that we've went, and it's already just been a complete blessing to us.
Yeah.
So
like you can just tell your soul feels at home there.
Yes. And that's what we were longing for was, okay, we really need to find a church where we belong, because we have been isolated for so long, and the spiritual attacks was just, nailing us.
That's where the darkness wants you, is isolated.
Yes. And we were, but we're not now. So that's great.
Yay.
So we're seeing the other side of, this week alone has really changed the way that I have looked at walk by faith and not by sight.
Yeah.
Because like God has just done so much for us in just this week. And I'm learning more about surrendering.
Yeah.
I never really knew, like, I thought like, I've surrendered, I've surrendered. No, not the way that God has recently showed me how to surrender.
Yeah.
So, but we're always going to be learning,
Yeah, it's true. And your message is such a great one. And I'm hoping that all of our listeners out there are encouraged with maybe their darkness that they're going through right now, that there is light. If you reach out to Jesus, he'll find you there as he found you. And in your darkest place, at your hardest time, you sat in front of the fireplace. You were crying out to God, and he said, "Okay, here I am. You asked for me, here I am." And I think a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you hear it in church that God's always there; he's always around. But if you call on his name, he will come for you. And it's so powerful, and it's such a great message. And I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but we're just so thankful that you were able to come on. It's so gracious of you to take the time. And we know that you're being blessed in such a great way. And we're so happy for that, because as we said, we saw your documentary, and, we've been thinking about, how is she doing now? I think everybody's wondering that. So thank you for coming on and sharing all of that with us. And we just hope that God continues to bless everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. It really has been a blessing to be on your podcast. And anybody that's listening, if they're having a hard time with witchcraft or drugs or drinking or just anything, or just in a bad spot, please feel free to reach out, because I promise that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there's more than the darkness out there. There's a whole nother life that God can give you. And, it really just takes, it takes courage. And everything that we go through, God puts us through for a reason.
Yeah.
So
where can people find you at? You're on Instagram. Where? I mean, I watched your film, I think originally on the website, because it wasn't on YouTube yet, but now it's on YouTube, right?
It is on YouTube. It's on LordTV.com, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube. All you have to do is look up Dark Holler docu-series, and I think episode 1 through 5 is on there. We did shoot a 6th episode, but I'm not sure exactly what that looks like right now. Also, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the name North Elkins. After I was saved, it was just really on my heart. Like, God was like, that's not who you are anymore. So I now go by my middle name. So that's it with the name change. But I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And I encourage anybody to go on YouTube. It's free. I mean, you can watch everything. I do go on there and look at comments. I just recently started to do this. I took a spiritual, I was getting hit hard with spiritual warfare. So I did step back for a while, and I wasn't doing podcasts, and I wasn't as affiliated with social media and Dark Holler for a minute, but I'm back now. So anybody can find me there. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
We're
so great.
so thankful for your story and thankful that you were willing to come on and talk with us and our listeners, because your story is incredible. Everybody's got a story, and everybody's story is incredible, and you never know who it's going to reach, who it's going to speak to.
That's true.
And that's the whole point, is that we got to get the message out there.
Yes, I have heard so many amazing testimonies, like people that have not known me message me and just be pouring everything out. Like, this has blessed me so much. I have gone through similar things in my life, and I didn't want to say anything because people was going to think I'm crazy. Nobody's going to think you're crazy. This happens. And there are people out there that can help you through it. And I encourage you to pray, read your Bible, and reach out to those in the community that can help you be accountable in your Christian walk. That's what it's about.
Yep.
Amen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank
thanks again.
you.
So great to meet you and be able to talk to you. And we look forward to all of the stories that are going to happen with this podcast going out, and all the people reaching out to us and sharing their stories. It's going to be so great. We're believing in God for big things, and we're just so excited to see what he's doing with our podcast and what he's doing with your life. So we're going to wrap it, but we hope to hear more about you soon and see how things are going with that neurosurgery and all that. I might need that one of these days. I got traumatic brain injury.
You got blown up in war, so we might need you.
Well, holler at me in about 10 years. I still got a while to go.
There you go.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.